Welcome, everybody. This is Thunderlord888, and today I'm kind of doing something a bit different. So, I'm kind of doing a bit of a podcast like thing, but today I will be reading a little story that I've written. I'm not going to exactly tell you what the mood is at first of the story, but as I read it, you will start getting a feel for what it's like. Okay, here is the story. I woke up that night to hear quite a clatter coming from the kitchen. I knew something was up. I looked around my new cell. All I had was a bed, a toilet, and a small desk. The Foundation members told me that next week we would be assigned work to do around the premises. I had recently bought a pack of chalk to keep track of things. I would write the number of days I'd spent in the facility. It was late at night, I supposed, and I wanted to do something. I was wide awake and hadn't been getting much sleep ever since I was put here. I'm still not sure where I am, who I was, and the reason they took me here. I wanted to see the light, as others had talked about, the outside world. Many of those fellow prisoners were killed for speaking of it. It was a very quiet night before the breach. None of us were expecting it. The past day there had been a fight in the cafeteria over the food. One of the medics was killed. The prisoner who started the fight, Jonas, was sent to the special treatment room. No one knew what was in the room. No one was brave enough to go in. No one ever spoke of it. I remember Jonas's last screams before they took him away. He was just one of us, a lonely prisoner who wanted to escape. He had been part of a secret group called Code Red, who would go at any risk to escape. There were many before Jonas who tried, but no one succeeded. They all suffered the same punishment, a punishment that is unimaginably painful. I recall one of the doctors saying. That doctor was also killed, or he had said too much. Now the numbers in Code Red dwindled, and there were no hopes of escape. I remember Jonas's last words as he was dragged away. You can't do this. They're coming for you. You just wait. There is no escaping the... I didn't want to go to bed. I feared what nightmares I might have. I ended up falling asleep until the guards woke me to begin the day. I always started out at roll call. After that, you would go eat breakfast. Then you would get in your place and wait the long line. I hadn't been called yet. No one wanted to be. But the future was inevitable. Eventually, your number would be called, and they would take you to their special rooms. People who went didn't usually come back. If they did come back alive and well, they would have the mentality of a soldier coming home from war. They were scared to death of what they had seen and experienced. If they spoke one word of it, they would see to severe punishment. After breakfast, Odell showed up with his gang. "What a punk," said Odell with a sneer. I gave him a look that said, "Stop." Odell just moved along and got his food. I really wanted to tell him he was late, but it probably wouldn't go so well. Then I see my friend Bill come from the medical wing. "You doing okay?" I asked. "I'm getting better," replied Bill. I wasn't feeling very good after eating too much food, and I had an accident. "Slow down with the food," I say. We all laugh. Then a group of soldiers entered the room. They're all wearing bulletproof vests and carried guns in their hands. "The mobile task force," I hear Joe say. "Everybody needs to evacuate the cafe to their cell," says one of the soldiers. They started escorting us to the cells, and a few of us tried to resist. "We want to fight," said one of the prisoners. "I don't want to go back to that filthy cell," yells another. Eventually, I was put in a cell, and the facility goes on lockdown. I saw scientists and medics and security officers running through the halls. I see one officer drop his gun, a look of panic in his eyes. I wanted to yell out at the officer, "What's happening? I want to fight." I knew it would only get me into trouble. After about 10 minutes of panic and evacuation, a mobile task force soldier comes up to my cell and opens the door. "Take this," he said with the gun in his hands. I took the gun, with a puzzled look on my face. He saw my facial expression and explained to me what was going on. "There's been a breach in the facility. It's really bad. We have 2 SCPs on the loose. We've been collecting prisoners to help us fight them and escort them back to their appropriate room. We have security officers everywhere and several mobile task force units deployed to handle the latter. Come with me." I followed the soldier back into the big prison room, where he went up the ramp to the kitchen. There were dozens of prisoners and soldiers there. Security officers were guarding the entrance to the prison cafe. Inside, I saw a creature in a black robe wearing a creepy mask. "What is that?" I asked. "It's the plague doctor," the soldier replies. "He thinks he has a cure, but it's really a virus." I take out my gun and start firing at the beast. I saw one prisoner get too close and gets ripped in the knees by bullets. The plague doctor kneels over the fallen prisoner and snaps his kneecaps in half. I turn my head from the sight. The soldier tells me to toughen up, so I bring my gun back up and start shooting. The plague doctor doesn't even flinch and starts working a medical procedure on the victim. One prisoner tries to help, but a bullet hits his leg and he's grabbed by a soldier. In a sudden, there's a flash of light, and I see the prisoner standing up, his arms outstretched with a sickened face. Everybody stares in awe at the scene, and some prisoners run for their life. Others take it as an opportunity to escape and run through the kitchen into the medical wing. I try to follow them, but a soldier stopped me and gave me a warning. The zombified prisoner soon takes over a medic, and the infection is spreading. The soldiers try and handle the situation, leaving me the chance to run for it. I dash into the kitchen and crawl through a vent into the medical wing. From there, I find a room that contains a sewer grate, and I lift the grate and crawl down the ladder. At the bottom, I saw several tunnels with several doors. I opened a door to find another hall. I started to wonder where everyone went. I kept going through door upon door until I came across a ladder. Finally, something different than just doors, I said a little too loud. I heard footsteps behind me and shouts, and I tried to hide, but there was nowhere to hide. The doors opened, and 2 security officers grabbed me and beat me down right there. "What do you think you're doing here?" said one of the officers. "You should be in your cell," said the other. They both hit me repeatedly with the butts of their rifles, and I paid for it. After a few minutes, they gave me a chance to breathe. "Next time, do what you're told," said an officer. They carried me away to my cell, where they locked the door and decided it was a good idea for me to skip dinner and reflect on my crime. I didn't even bother looking at them as they retreated to the cafe. There was no hope of escape. They were all right. There's no point. I didn't spend too much time thinking about things that night. I fell asleep for the first time in days, and I didn't regret it. I woke up that morning to see soldiers standing outside my cell. I could hear them talking about the breach. I didn't want to face such a disaster again, but the dice may not be in my favor. They opened my door and told me to follow them. I walked with them through the halls. I was quite scared of the consequences I might face. They took me through a collection of doors to reach the Foundation zone. "It is still dangerous here, so be careful," said the soldier. They took me to a room that contained a desk, a few chairs, and a computer. "Sit in the chair," said a soldier. The other soldier went outside the room and closed the door. "Tell me," said the soldier, "why were you in the lower hallways yesterday?" I stammered. "I don't know." Likely story," said the soldier. "What were you looking for?" "I wasn't looking for any—" "You said enough," interrupted the soldier. "It's about time we gave you a job." "What? A job?" I asked. "But after that—" "Yes, a job," the soldier interrupted again. "Stop interrupting me," I mumbled. "I decided you would fit the job of a Foundation member," the soldier said. "Really?" I questioned. "Me? Part of the "Stop talking for once," roared the soldier. "Anyways, in the next hour you will report to the Foundation office, where you will maintain general SCP information, write reports, and manage all letters sent and received," said the soldier. "Now stay quiet as I show you around your designated area of the facility. As a reminder, do not leave your area of the facility unless it's an emergency, or you are specifically given instructions to do so." We walked through some hallways until we entered the facility hall. I saw all these doors leading to security offices and to scientific labs. I was really interested. "This way," said the soldier. We walked through a door and up some stairs until we reached a room full of computers and filing cabinets. "Everybody," said the soldier in a bold voice, "say hello to Jim. He will be working with you until further notice." Everybody looked and stared at me like I was an alien. I knew this new job would be interesting. "Good or bad, I'm here now." "Jim," said the soldier, "we decided you are going to file our reports. Come over here." The soldier walked over to an empty desk and turned on the computer. "By the way," the soldier said in a hushed voice, "the password is 10798825. I've written on this slip of paper. Don't lose it or let it get into the hands of those who will take advantage of it." I nodded and typed the password in. "From there, you need to open the file labeled Office Reports," said the soldier. "Then you need to print the documents, go to the printer room, which is right across the hall, bring them back, and grab a folder from your bin, then store it, stamp it with a classified stamp, put the folder in the filing cabinet. Now the files are stored alphabetically, so we can keep track of them. Make sure you put it in where it belongs, and you are not allowed to read what the document says until we tell you to do so. The soldier left the room, and now I was left to begin my work. I started by opening the first document. I was confused by the title because it was blurred out and said something like, it was blacked out. Anyways, I printed the file and then went out of the room to find another door with a sign above it that reads, Printer Room, authorized personnel only. Well, I guess I qualify, I say aloud. I walk in and find my papers printing. In about a minute, they've finished, and I take them back into the other room. Inside, I found the bin the soldier was talking about that had all the folders. I grabbed a stamp and stamped it. Now it was classified, and I could file it away. I looked through the cabinets for its corresponding letter sequence. After the document was filed, I went back to my desk to print a few more. I was about finished with my workload for the day when the intercom interrupted me. All prisoners report to your cells, and all staff report to the safe rooms. I repeat, all prisoners report to your cells, and all staff report to the safe rooms. There has been a breach. The sculpture has been freed from its containment room. Everybody started shuffling around when we piled out the door. I followed all the other Foundation workers because they seemed to know where to go. We approached a hall with several rooms. A security guard came and divided us into these rooms. Inside, there were a few beds, a few desks, a gun rack, and a large couch. The guard came in the room with us, and another guard stood outside and closed the door. Then it was locked. What's going on out there? I asked. There's been another breach, said the guard. We all report to these safe rooms so that no one gets hurt. It's part of the procedure. Another member of the Foundation spoke up. Where's the creature? I want to see it. No, sir, you don't, said another Foundation member. I've seen the sculpture before. It's quite nightmarish. It killed everybody I knew. You talk trash, Judy, said the other Foundation member. Stop being rude, Kyle, said Judy. Break it up, guys, said the guard in an annoyed tone. I decided it would be better for me to stay quiet. It was a long day, and eventually we were given lunch and then dinner. We stayed in the room the entire day. I'd rather be on the front lines than be safe and be bored. Soon, we all went to sleep. I heard a bang and a scream, and I woke up to see a creature somewhere in the room with us. I walked over to examine the scene. No one else was awake. I couldn't see much in the dark, but then I reached out and touched something wet, and I jerked my hand away. I looked up to see blood dropping from the ceiling. I looked at my hand and saw blood all over it. I was about to wake the others when I heard a loud thump. I turned around to see a strange creature shaped like a sculpture. It looks like an alien made of clay and stone. I then noticed it must be the sculpture. I dashed to the door and banged on it, screaming for help. I turned around, and the sleeping bodies of my fellow workers were gone. I heard voices outside and the door opened. Come with us, said a mobile task force soldier. I ran with the soldiers, and we escaped to the mobile task force armory. Once inside, I saw other survivors. Some were prisoners, some were medics, and there was at least one member from each group. We found another, said one of the soldiers. He was in a safe room. Tell us what happened. So I was in the safe room, and I woke up to this scream, I explained. Then I saw some blood and felt this liquid type of substance. Turned around to see what I think was the sculpture, and I ran for the door. Then you guys came. The sculpture, questioned the soldier. How? We have mobile task force units guarding the containment area. Apparently we need to take extra precautions, said a medic. Hold up, said a scientist. There was another scientist who took a couple of prisoners to test. They said they were going to the sculpture's containment first. The sculpture escaped during the breach, said the soldier. We need to take proper containment procedures. Jim, said the soldier, you'll need to follow close behind us as we escort it back to its cell. We'll take all of you. You'll be given a weapon to use in case of emergency. Remember, we don't want to harm the anomaly. We want to retrieve it. Retrieval duties are essential to every occupation within the Foundation. The soldier ordered us to move out and find the anomaly. We walked out of the armory into the light containment sector. We moved hastily from there to the exit, where we traveled through the Tesla gate with caution. We proceeded through a series of doors until we arrived at the prison sector of the facility. I looked around and saw prisoners running around. Security guards lined all the doors, and we went into the prison cafe to investigate. The sculpture is around here somewhere, said a soldier. Suddenly, a prisoner all battered and bruised, and ran up the staircase into the cafe. "I saw it!" exclaimed the prisoner. "It's coming!" The prisoner ran out of the room before anyone could talk to him, and the sculpture appeared at the top of the stairs. "Everybody," yelled a soldier, "keep your eyes on the target and do not remove them until I tell you to do so." We tried to lure him into the containment sector, but it was harder than one would have imagined it to be. We had to open fire a few times to move the beast, and he almost strangled a security guard. We had most of the mobile task force assisting us with the retrieval. Eventually, we were able to get him through the first gate. "We're doing good," said the soldier. "Keep up the good work. We need to get him to his room in the next 30 minutes. He started glaring at us as he approached the second gate, and he tried to wipe out a scientist, but a soldier let his gun loose, let the guns loose on him, and the creature screeched with pain and moved away from the target. We got him through that gate and then pushed him further until he approached the Tesla gate. "What do we do now?" I holler at a task force officer. "We need one person to go at a time," said the soldier. "Prisoner, you go first and bring the sculpture with you. No one move, though, until both the prisoner and the sculpture are through the gate. Do you hear me? Through the gate." Then something unexpected happened. A hole on the floor appeared, and I felt a tug at my feet. I tried to scream, but I was falling, and everything was black. I woke up to see a large-sized room with 6 tunnels surrounding me. There was blood covering the walls. What is this place? I stood up and approached one of the tunnels. Above it was a rusty wooden sign with many dents in it. The sign read "Cavern" in a blood-red font. I walked through the tunnel to find it looking very diseased. There were black stains across the wall, mixed with old, worn blood. At the end of the tunnel, I saw a door. I wondered what's behind this door. I grabbed the handle of the door, pulled it, and slowly creaked open the metal hatch. Inside was a large cavern with many tunnels leading in all directions. In the center, there was a small hatch on the floor. I saw many crystals and gems lining the walls. There's got to be something behind this hatch. I opened the hatch to find a ladder descending into the darkness. I gripped the ladder, legs first, and began to climb down. After about 5 minutes of a long climb, I find myself in a small room with walls made of pure iron. The floor was also made of the same material. Great idea. I could climb through this vent. I kneeled and crawled through the vent. Occasionally, I felt a cold rush of air. I kept looking back, feeling my claustrophobia strengthen. Started crawling faster and faster as I heard static noise. As I turn a corner, I see another vent cover. I lift it to see a tunnel. I drop down from the vent and walk down the tunnel. I feel another rush of cold air, and I hear the static again. Start running and don't turn back. I run as fast as I can until I trip and fall. Then I made a mistake that cost me everything. I turned around to see blood-red eyes peering at me through the darkness. I try to stand, but I can't. The creature approaches me, and I see a humanoid wearing white jeans and a white jacket, covered with black splotches and blood splatters on it. The creature wore some kind of helmet covering its face, except its eyes were like red lasers. It pulled out a glowing stick with electricity running through it, and the last thing I heard was some dialogue in a language I had never heard before, followed by, "No matter how hard you try, there is no escape. In the blink of an eye, I can jump from the pages of one book to another. This is what happens to those who turn back." Okay, thank you guys for listening to this. If you couldn't tell, that was an SCP story that I wrote. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.